Hello, everyone. Sabelette here, back with the final match of week 6. As is tradition, I am covering my own set last. So, as you can see in this replay, I finally actually managed to get the Pokemon Showdown username that matches my Smogon name. So, been a long time coming. I've been requesting it for years, but apparently whoever used to own the account randomly logged in one time and that put it on a 3-year cooldown again of being able to be claimed by someone else. So, finally got it. Happy to have it. It's nice to be able to play under that instead of a different name that I did like, but it's cool to get the one that actually matches. So, not much to say before getting into this match. To be honest, I didn't prep that hard before this one. I was a little bit pressed for time. Kind of looked at the scout and went, oh yeah, I know what's going to work here, and I'll get into it as I'm actually playing the games. But in this game one, it's a Zam leadoff versus a Gengar, and we both go to Executor. I've already seen this team before, and I immediately know he's reusing, so I know he's not going to take the speed tie and go to Sakazam instead, which I'm perfectly happy to take. And at this point, I remember I quickly jumped back into my team's Discord in the general chat. I couldn't see game discussion, obviously, because that would be bad. And I immediately typed out, here's his 6, and told them the exact Pokemon he'd be using. And then I went back to the game. So, unfortunately from him, a little predictable. So I knew what to expect. I double back to Gengar so I can get some immediate damage on Executor and not play around with trying to hit Stun Spore. I just want to scare him into thinking I'm going to boom, and if he wants to sleep me and give me a sleeping Gengar to block booms, I'm happy with that. So free 50% on Executor because I already kind of know exactly how he plays these opening sequences. And I go right to Mewtwo and take Stun Spore, which means if you've been following the previous games, I think you can guess exactly what this Mewtwo wants to do. But I switch out because I don't want to get boomed right away. Yeah, so I know Unowndragon has definitely scouted me, has seen that I've been running a lot of barriers, so I go to Executor as a mid ground. I did want to consider going Gengar, but I didn't want to give up the momentum of him booming on something sleeping and then getting a free setup turn with something else. So I figured my egg has done its job, my Mewtwo is ready to win the game. Let's just go to the Executor and mid ground in case it's not a boom, that I can start threatening other stuff. So I send Mewtwo into Cloyster to try to block this Blizzard and bait Clamp so I don't get frozen on my immediate switch in, because getting frozen would kind of deprive me of a very intentional Cloyster check here. And Unowndragon content to just clamp down, continuing to clamp, and having watched his replays, I already determined I can get rid of these Cloysters. I'm not scared of him Cloystering me to block Barrier 2. I am going to get through this just fine. So a full 5-hit clamp, and now I know he's either going to get out or boom me. So I soft-boiled up because I think he's just going to rip the boom. But he blizzards instead. Either way, I got recovery out of that, and now I get to T-Wave it. Spoiler alert, my Mew is not remotely walled by this Cloyster, and he's just going to give me a free hit on it to start this off, and I know that if he booms this Mew, it's good for me. So I soft-boiled up, expecting the boom to come through this turn, and ultimately, my Gengar is not catching booms. I'm hoping it'll discourage some booms, but I don't really care that much. And now I send in Slowbro, and the idea is this is not so much a backup win con as just a guy to be really forcing with T-Waves. So T-Wave out, he goes Rhydon, presumably as a pivot, but I don't really care. I see that I'm up, so I'm willing to just throw out a Surf here, and he sacks Rhydon to get some chip on Slowbro. So this is fine by me at this point. I'm content that my Mewtwo will beat this presumably Ice Psychic Amnesia Recover one, and out comes a Hyper Beam Mew from him. Now, I thought that if he's sending Mew into this, it seems fairly likely it could have Hyper Beam. I don't think this is a good team for Hyper Beam. And I think the one thing he didn't reveal when I previously saw this team was the Mew set didn't really get revealed. So I wasn't sure it had Hyper Beam, but I definitely suspected it here. Ultimately, this is just another case where I'm just thinking positional sack to win the game is fine. I'll play the speed tie first with the T wave because getting that is good enough to win. And I don't think Hyper Beam was a very good. Yeah, it's not actually going to KO the Mew here. Max roll 31.7. I'm at 32 point something. So I get to come in for free, click T wave. If it hits either Mewtwo or Mew, I'm happy. If he goes to Zam, I'm extra happy because I'm going to get that free Mewtwo setup turn I need, and as soon as one barrier and one amnesia are up, I should be pretty safe. So at this point, I just start setting up. He shows Blizzard instead of the expected Ice Psychic, but I already have my defense boost, my special boost, and now, even if he crits me, I know I can go to my Mew, I can paralyze his Mew, I can explode it, and then I'll win. So at this point, it is yet another barrier game, and as much as I'm getting tired of these, ultimately, if my opponents are going to give me them, then I'm going to take them. So yeah, I mean, you look at his team, and he brought the Pokemon that stops this, and then just let me paralyze and psychic it. So, can I really be blamed for taking my chances here? So, just gonna Ice Beam this. It's actually very favored to 2-hit KO, but doesn't work out in my favor this time. And Zam, not gonna wake up in time though. So, at this point, I'm confident that there's nothing he can do. Hyper Beam Mew suggests it's not boom, so no crit booms coming here. And if this Mewtwo wants to boom me, then again, it's not a problem. The main thing is I just don't want this Mew to be set up and in, and it's not going to be able to set up. I Ice Beam once just to check for if it has recovery at all. And now I'm just going to Amnesia up and finish it off, because eventually I will chip it down and win. So not much more to say here. I'm actually going to boost the speed one level, because it's going to be just Ice Beam recovery over and over until inevitably the Mewtwo will win. Like, even with that, you don't really want to use a soft boiled. And turns out to be Mono Mew, which is very funny to me because I don't think it synergizes with this team at all. And I think it's going to need a lot here. It does crit me twice, which is pretty annoying. But at this point, I'm looking at this and thinking, okay, Mewtwo, go for broke. And if it doesn't work out, I'll go Gengar. I can afford to burn turns with this Mew at 82% that can come in and do stuff. I still have a whole Pokemon unrevealed. But as long as I don't get crit a million times, I should just be able to recover up and start pressuring this again. And as soon as I start pressuring it, the game is mine again. So Unowndragon crits a zillion times here, which is crazy. And I really start to think, wow, my Mewtwo is actually going to die to this for no reason. But every time it gets really dire, I just get the recovery off. And now back to full. And now I get to start attacking even if it would have crit me here. And now he's back under the pressure to click soft boiled a million times, because even if my Mewtwo's at like 50, his Mewtwo alone won't do anything. Crit Hyper Beam wouldn't have mattered there at all. It would have done like 60, so I would have lived it. And now at this point, I'm not scared of winning this game at all. And he does end up booming and giving up on the game. So 55 turns, pretty happy with that first game win. Not much else to say about the teams. He ran this team. I'll come back to it for a sec. He ran this team in a prior week. I even want to say like the week before this. So I immediately saw it, knew the 6, and knew what I was going to game plan around it, and just got to barrier him. So nice and simple. Pretty basic team. I've got a fair bit of T-Wave and Boom support here. Between these three, there's Boom, and between these three, Thunder Wave. So good amount of support. I won't reveal the last right now. But into game 2. Now, I will say in advance, this game was very tilting, and I did not run a barrier again because I thought maybe he'll go like Starmie plus Slowbro plus Cloyster to try to stop me, or something absurd like that. But I'm sending Mewtwo in because I am willing to just T-Wave this and take the fight. And in this game, the win cons on my side were more focused on a offensive Mew and a Slowbro, but mainly the Mew. Got a lot of T-Wave spreading, got some booms to help support it. And here just looking for the drop so my Mewtwo can fight this a little better. I'm definitely scared of a freeze, but I don't really want anything else to take status. So here I sit on it. And ultimately after the drop, now Gengar is really threatening to it. So I push it down just a little bit more HP, looking for a chance to get Gengar in safely. And now I've also got a sleep blocker. And now Gengar's in. And T-Bolt does like 80, so most likely he is either going to switch or T-Wave me and then switch, but I'm pretty content with the chance to just win, and the Starmie is still slower than my Gengar. Now, I remember this turn because this game obviously was pretty recent for me. I clicked Hypnosis, and I paralyzed, so Obviously, there was the paralysis chance, there's the miss chance, but 45% of the time, I completely ruined him here. And at this point, I'm a little annoyed, but like nothing serious. It's ultimately like it's unfavored to actually land, but I miss another one and go, okay, now I'm gonna have to start risking things, unfortunately. And he goes to Snorlax on Mewtwo, which is a pretty nice call out. But as you will see, this was just a game, a game of all time. I feel like I've had one of these per set this whole tournament, and that's been rough. But just gonna try to play around him and get my sleep a different way. I call him out on Earthquaking the Gengar, and now I have pretty forced sleep because what's he gonna do about it? But I miss and get stunned, and I hit it, but this is not the end of the story. I would really say this game sucked. So you'll see in a moment. I slam the egg, it immediately wakes back up, and I'm forced right back into Eggy again. The 256 is nice, but ultimately it's like a 12% attack. So now he's got some pressure, but I end up double switching, and Gengar, like kind of a weird positional double switch, but I did want to cover for the possibility that I get boomed, and I didn't care that much if I lose it. But because that's not happening, I just go to Mewtwo thinking, okay, Starmie is not really a threat to me. I can use this as a chance to recover my Mewtwo, but I cannot. So now this Snorlax is absurd pressure, and I'm thinking I am in trouble. I need to either make a call out with Gengar or try to do the pivot one more time. So I do the pivot again, but Executor's paralyzed this time, so there's not that much threat for him here. And here, Body Slam. I do sleep him because what I think is he's thinking about going to Starmie to catch Sleep Powder and recover up. But I also I've played Unowndragon a number of times in other tiers and this tier, and I know that he reads these because he expects the other person to call him out on that switch. So I knew he reads these, so I just immediately sleep the Snorlax, and I'm pretty happy with that. But I paralyze once, and I go, okay, I need to go to Tauros, and it immediately wakes up again. But that's not all. So, first off, 256, and second off, a crit. So at this point, I decided I don't care about this game anymore. I don't want to tilt. I'm just going to click Hyper Beam, and if it crits, then I'll try. And if not, let's just hurry through this one and go to the next. 2 wake ups, the Gengar missing Hypnosis twice. Ultimately, I wanted to call a boom there, but I wasn't really invested in this enough to really care. So now Tauros comes in. It's obviously going to claim one because my Mewtwo didn't get to heal up and everything took para. So here, all I've got left is a Wincon Mew and an Executor. I'm trying to see if I can bait him to not click Hyper Beam out of fear of me going Mew on it and T-Waving, but Unowndragon doesn't care and just clicks the Hyper Beam, which I think is a pretty fair click. I send the Mew and I just forfeit because I'm done with this game after the instant wakes and everything else and the 256 and the crit. So it's an unfortunate game. That's the game we play. I definitely remember being really annoyed at this game and going into my team chat and just being like, fuck this game. I'm so tired of this. I'm going to win game 3, don't worry, but I'm like annoyed that the game keeps giving me these. So I've had a couple of really rough matches like this during this tournament. But ultimately after that I decide, you know what? Barrier worked. Barrier will work again even if he brings a Cloyster, so here we go in game 3 with another Barrier team loaded. Gengar versus Jinx. After the initial Hypnosis miss, I'm thinking, yay, and then lovely Kiss miss. So unfortunately, I'm still going to lose the Sleep War because Jinx decided to choke when given the chance. And Mewtwo comes in immediately to scare this out. Critical T-Bolt into Para. So this is a barrier too, so the Para is not the worst thing, but it is pretty bad this early where the Gengar now threatens to boom me out of the game. Another T-Bolt crit, not that impactful. And he immediately booms and crits my Executor, so I'm thinking, oh my god, another one of these. But ultimately I have a barrier 2, and he hasn't really demonstrated the ability to stop my barrier 2 in that game 1, so I'm still thinking this is pretty okay. Paralyzing the Mew now gives me a lot more leeway to play with my Mewtwo, but I'm going to go to Snorlax first and try to fight this Mew a little bit and get a boom somewhere. Ideally, I chip it and then he runs away out of fear of a boom and I boom something else to set up the Mewtwo a little better. So another slam, a crit is really nice for me. And now I'm kind of thinking about my options, but he just booms first. And ultimately I'm thinking, okay, I don't have many resources, but Barrier 2 can Barrier 2 this. So Mewtwo comes in, immediately get out because I think, oh god, he might just boom me immediately. And my Mew has Blizzard. So it is poised to take this Golem out for me and remove one of the threats, a Para. And finally, at this point, the game starts to turn around in my favor a bit versus this very boom spammy team, which is a pretty good matchup into Barrier 2 when I get the crit, which basically just makes up for the paralysis. He goes Cloister, and I'm happy to like just see the Cloister early because I've got a T-Bolt Tauros. Unowndragon showed a pattern of just like kind of letting Cloister do whatever and not really trying to preserve it. So I'm thinking, okay, Jinx has a good chance to wake here, and if it wakes, I get sleep and I win. Reveals Hyper Beam Cloister, very aggressive team. And I go right to Tauros and let him think that I don't have anything here, but I do. And once this happens, I know, okay, I've actually won this. I'm going to beat him. So a little bit of fortunate luck at the end to help turn it around after a really, really unfortunate start. But at this point, I'm trusting in Tauros. And the last thing I need is that I need to either bait the Executor Boom or I need to Paraslam it. So I go for the slam first and get the Paraslam, and now I'm thinking, okay, it's my game. And he Psychics thinking I'm going to like try to pivot or something like that. And after this hit, I know that it's my game as long as I just get the barrier. But I get a little bit of extra luck and get this. I actually didn't really want to kill this Executor. I wanted to set up on it with Mewtwo because I think that's safer than setting up on a last mon Mewtwo that could potentially KO me before I get the setup off. But I don't really have a choice. And this is the scariest turn of this game for me because I'm thinking, what if he thinks ahead, sets up, gets lucky, and doesn't get paraslammed, and then I am in a lot of trouble versus this Mewtwo? It could pressure me really hard with +2 Blizzard or even +2 Ice Beam because he still likes to run Ice Beam on those 2 attack sets. But I'm trusting that he's going to attack the Tauros and be afraid of Para. And once he does that, not recognizing that my Mewtwo is a barrier 2, as soon as that happens, I'm thinking, I just need to not get crit a bunch of times right now or parrot a bunch of times, and this is my game. As soon as the Amnesia is up, I have a lot more safety with regard to crits, and if he's Ice Beam, which I assume he is because it's his typical go-to, I think I'm a bit safer, which it is. So now I don't even need Barrier, I just need the Amnesia up and sit on him. So for you, the viewers, you get to know that I actually did have Barrier in this game, but I never had to reveal it to him. So at this point, my concern is just stall the Ice Beams, do not mess around with trying to get a freeze on him or whatever, because I just don't want to risk getting multi-crit and para'd while I'm trying to attack. So anytime my HP is not at a solid 100%, I am clicking recover here because I have no reason to fear this Mewtwo except for parrying a million times. I'm going to go ahead and speed it up from here because there's nothing more to say, really. I will give you the live PP count here. He's on 7. I do wish this updated while you were moused over it, but 6. And yeah, just recovering. I'm not under any pressure. Like, there's no time pressure on me to get the freeze, so I only click it when I'm at 100. He's down to 4. And I assume his last move is Psychic, which makes me think, okay, I stall this out even if I never get the freeze. And he forfeits, knowing that I'm going to eventually freeze him or outstall him here. So Barrier 2 does do it in the end. A 40-turn game, thankfully not dragged out another 100 turns if I fail to freeze. But I get the win. So very happy with this one. That game 2 felt so bad. I really wanted to win the set after that. But I managed to pull it off, and this is unfortunately like a third week in a row of opponents just refusing to respect Barrier properly and getting punished for it. So unfortunately, I am not being a great entertainer, but I'm trying to win. So it's working out for me. 5-1 in this tournament so far, and very happy to take this one versus a team that literally had 5 booms and a Mewtwo. 5 booms is so scary for a Barrier 2 team, but I managed to avoid all the booms and get set up and win. Really don't love Amni, Ice Beam, Psychic, Recover, maybe T-Bolt, who knows what he had, but like it's 2 attacks Recover without Blizzard. Not a huge fan of that on a boom spam team. The immediate pressure is just not good enough to beat some lasts, and you have a lot of potential to lose, especially if you ever get behind on this boom spam team. So, wasn't biggest fan of the idea here on my side. My main consideration was use the physical attackers to pull in the Cloister so that I can either boom it with Snorlax or T-Bolt it with Tauros, or a secret move that my Snorlax may or may not have had. Shh, don't tell anyone. I had a T-Wave Mew. It had other attacks, so it could have hit the Cloister. But I also wanted Blizzard because I thought maybe he's going to bring Golem or Rhydon. I seriously, I'm not joking, I considered putting Surf on this. I almost ran Surf Psychic and was like, this is just my discount Starmie with better bulk. But ultimately decided, let's use Blizzard, let's make sure we can hit Eggy, let's give ourselves some options. And it worked out in the end. So probably not going to reuse a team like this, but it really was kind of a call out on what he's been bringing this whole time. So landed perfectly. Seeing reused teams immediately let me know that it was going to work perfectly, and it worked out. So that's the end of this one and the end of week 6, which I'm pretty happy to get there. So ready to go into potential playoffs. And at the end, as week 6 is ending, my team and one other team, which we're playing next week, are the ones in contention for the last seed for playoffs. So the other 3 series actually do not matter at all for anything except for playoff seeding. And it's just down to my team versus Maris's team, which is the Void Villains. So my team, Eternal Voyagers versus Void Villains. And if my team manages to tie or win the week, we're in the playoffs. If we lose, then the Villains are in the playoffs as the last seed. We could potentially get a higher seed if we won really hard and the teams above lost really hard, but ultimately the point is we're playing for the playoff slot. There will be 3 RBY series next week where we might see some funny stuff brought because it doesn't matter for anything except if you care about your personal record. But who knows? Might be interesting, might be dead games, which I hope it's not dead games because I've been really enjoying covering this. But we'll see exactly what happens, and assuming all 4 games get played, then the week 7 games will all be out by Saturday of semifinals week, which will be exciting. So I'll see you in those ones. In the meantime, leave a comment. I guess subscribe if you'd like to see the rest of these videos. There's going to be like 7 left if all the games get played. And after this, I'm actually planning to cover a UU series, UU Champions League, which I'll be drafting in a couple weeks. And I'm very excited to play in now that rap is banned from RBY, UU, and below. Thank God. So I'm going to do a video on UU soon, talk about the builder, talk about some speculation about the tournament coming up, and see you in that one or see you in the Ubers ones, whatever ends up coming first.